Texas Senator John Cornyn has asked FBI Director Kash Patel, looking as shocked as we are that he's in that position in that picture, for his help in tracking down, arresting, and I guess carting back the Democrats who have temporarily left Texas to stop the ridiculous and arguably unconstitutional gerrymander that Texas wants to do. And that was crazy. That was the news of yesterday. No, the crazy update today is that he's approved the request, Kash Patel. I don't know what that means. There's no more details. Maybe the Democrats have already been arrested. Maybe they've already been thrown in the back of a Penske truck to be hauled back to Austin. We don't know. We're trying to figure it out. All that we have is this statement from John Cornyn, who says, "I am proud to announce that Director Kash Patel has approved my request for the FBI to assist state and local law enforcement in locating runaway Texas House Democrats. I thank President Trump and Director Patel for supporting and swiftly acting on my call for the federal government to hold these supposed lawmakers accountable for fleeing Texas." John Cornyn, of course, was quite quiet when Ted Cruz had fled Texas during those devastating storms, but whatever, he's found someone that he can get mad at, I guess. And so as of right now, I don't know what any of this means. I don't know if FBI agents have been dispatched. I don't know if they're even free to track down these Democrats. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are busy redacting Donald Trump's name from the Epstein files, but in theory, they could be arrested. And so maybe nothing happens, or maybe this is us taking another step down a really dark path towards the constant weaponization of the FBI against Donald Trump and his regime and his various toadies and lackeys like John Cornyn, like Kash Patel, like Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton, in just arresting anyone that temporarily inconveniences them. So I don't know for sure, but I want to turn now to our Texas representative. Yaz, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously kind of crazy. And I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more later on in the story, but John Cornyn is currently, he's up for reelection in the upcoming midterms. So right now we're already here in Texas starting to see campaign ads for John Cornyn. And part of his ad strategy is to show how well in alignment he is with Trump and with the Trump administration. I just saw an ad yesterday and it was saying, oh, John Cornyn, he votes with Trump 99% of the time or something like that, some 90-something% number. So he's really trying to drive that point home that he is a MAGA candidate. And part of the reason as to why he is doing that, I would imagine, is because part of Ken Paxton's campaign for Cornyn's Senate seat is to claim that Cornyn is not as MAGA as he should be. And it's kind of disappointing for me. Well, obviously it's disappointing for me on a few different levels, but the race between Cornyn and Paxton, I thought it could be kind of like a benchmark to see where the people of Texas really were, right? John Cornyn is very Republican. He's very conservative. He's not as outspoken as Ted Cruz is. He doesn't have as much of a public profile, but he really is. He does vote a lot with Trump and with the Trump administration. So he's not like anybody that I'm comfortable having represent me either way. But his perception is that of, maybe a more old school Republican, like I wouldn't say quite John McCain Republican, but he's, he's like an upstanding guy. He's conservative. He's not making a whole lot of waves. He just does his work and puts his head down. He's not like Ted Cruz on a podcast, like there's there's a big difference between our two Texas senators. But yeah. Ken Paxton, he has a reputation on the national stage, which is saying something for a state attorney general. It's not a good reputation, but he's got one. So he has name recognition, but he's also just like known to be very sycophantic for Trump and for MAGA. And for him to come out and say that John Cornyn, who does vote with Trump most of the time, is not MAGA enough, that is a big selling point, or it could be. So, I was thinking that could be a benchmark to see where the people of Texas actually sat, if they were sick of all the MAGA stuff and just wanted to go back to what they perceived to be a more traditional Republican path, or if they would, continue down this more extreme MAGA path. And like I said, I know we're gonna get to it more, but we'll see how that's shaking out here in Texas.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to end up very good for Texas either way. That you either get John Cornyn, whose campaign strategy is, "Hey Texans, I'm barely a person. I have no free will, no agency. I just asked ChatGPT what would Trump do in this case, and then I just do that." I want to reassure you, whether you're in Houston or down in the valley, I will never think for myself. I swear to God, just please keep me in this position. And that seems really sad for any state, let alone for Texas, where they're supposed to be all big and macho and independent,
Cowboys,
just being like, yeah, I know. How pathetic. And by the way, like if you ever had an aura of having any either sense or independence or devotion to country over party, let alone politician, like you're gonna try to arrest a bunch of people for temporarily inconveniencing you as your state legislature pushes for redistricting that you weren't calling for. Like it wasn't even your idea. It was just Donald Trump's. It's so pathetic what has happened to both Texas and the Republican Party. But in addition to the stuff with the FBI, you've got Ken Paxton, who now, like you said, they all want to seem like they're the most deferential and the most authoritarian, let's be clear, is now investigating Beto O'Rourke for raising money for the group, saying you're bankrolling them. It's bribery, it's illegal. And I love that, like, they've never had a problem with any fundraising, even when it's explicit bribery. I mean, they're all cheering Donald Trump being given a $400 million plane or whatever, but Beto O'Rourke, he's bankrolling, he should definitely be behind bars. Because at the end of the day, all of this is about stealing as much representation as possible and locking up as many Democrats as possible. That is all they have to offer to their base. And in response to that, Beto O'Rourke put out a statement saying the guy impeached for bribery, talking about Ken Paxton, who obviously faced corruption concerns from whistleblowers, is going after the folks trying to stop the theft of 5 congressional seats. Let's stop these thugs before they steal our country. And I hope that they're successful. I don't know how it's gonna go. I don't know. We had Representative John Busey III on. Maybe by next week he'll be behind bars, because that's unfortunately the kind of country we live in at this point. And finally, just maybe you could respond to this, Yaz. The Democrats in Illinois who were sheltering there, they had to leave their hotel after a bomb threat against it.
Wow.
And we don't know for sure it's because of those Democrats, but I don't know. I've been paying attention to politics the last couple of years. It feels like there might be a connection, but what do you make of all this in terms of the redistricting side?
Okay, well, first of all, with Ken Paxton, if anyone knows about bribery and fraud, it is Ken Paxton. He is the Texas State Attorney General. He is the highest ranking law enforcement agent in this state, but he's also the most legally embattled AG in the country himself, right? So this is a man who was being investigated by other Texas Republicans for corruption. And during the investigation, a literal dumpster was on fire outside of his office. So that is the guy who is now going to investigate Beto O'Rourke, of all people, for fraud and corruption. So I do want to say, as far as the the gerrymandering and the Democrats fleeing the office, there's a lot of things going on right now. Governor Abbott is on Fox News saying that these Democrats are the ones who are blocking aid to the Kerrville victims. That's not true. And that was in response to a question as to why the Democrats have fled. And he just barely mentioned redistricting in his answer. He knows that that's the reason why they have fled and why they're denying quorum, but he doesn't want to focus on that. It's also just like the fact that it's happening in the middle of a decade is unprecedented. It's unheard of. Who is doing this? No one else is doing this. And the reason why he's doing it is also very obvious. It is for Trump. The Texas Democrats, though, they have fled to various states, Illinois and New York, Massachusetts, I think Michigan, some other places. And the thing is, Texas Democrats are no joke, okay? To be a Democrat in the state of Texas, you have to be on top of your game. And we were kind of talking about this, John, before the show, but just being here locally, going to local meetings of Democrats here, the people, the candidates that come out willing to challenge Texas Republicans, they're at the top of their game. They are educated, they are experienced, they are experts in their field, they're well-spoken, they have well-defined policies and plans for what they want to do for the people of Texas. And so often you see such, highly qualified candidates just get kicked out of the race by some, whatever Republican, just because they, say that they're with MAGA or they're with Trump or whatever, and it's Texas, and ultimately this is already a very highly gerrymandered state. It's about to be even more gerrymandered if Republicans get their way. And just the people that we have here, the Democrats, they are of a very, very high caliber. I will say that much. And you're seeing that a little bit now as some of them are starting to make more appearances on a national level. And they've looked into the legality. These people are not a group of people who are going to flee to other states without having looked at every angle, without having explored everything that the Republicans could throw at them as part of the response. And Beto O'Rourke, I want to just take a minute to defend him because I think he gets a lot of flack. I think he can be kind of corny sometimes, but when it comes to politics in this country and policy and just being a person, that is really not the worst thing that you can be. And Beto O'Rourke, even though he doesn't even hold an office right now, he has done so much for the people of Texas, even in between the times when he's running for various positions, right? It is sad that he doesn't win ever, but he has come dangerously close to doing so in the past, and that is nothing to make light of.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And I get your frustration too, that you can have these people who are great, and then they get beat because Texas Republican or whatever. They want someone anti-corruption like Ken Paxton who took bribes, and they want someone with traditional religious values like Ken Paxton who had an affair and is getting divorced as a result of it. They just want those sorts of people. They're principled people. You need to understand that.